I'm here with Jonathan Riddell from the Kubuntu project. What is it you do with Kubuntu, Jonathan?
I'm one of the Kubuntu developers. So I do packaging of all the KDE stuff within Ubuntu and various bits of programming to make sure we've got as much as possible the same features and more features than anybody else, and all the release management as well. This isn't just me. I've got a whole team of people who do this stuff.
And there are a lot of you here at UDS?
There's 4 or 5 of us here at UDS, and we had another 4 or 5 at FOSS Camp last weekend.
So what are the big things on the Kubuntu agenda for UDS?
For the UDS, the main question is, of course, do we throw out KDE 3 as a desktop and put in KDE 4? And that's what we'll be doing. We're going to change as much as possible towards KDE 4 for the Intrepid release.
So you think for Intrepid KDE 4 will be the default?
Yes, definitely. I don't just think that's what's going to happen, because KDE 3 is great, but it's obsolete now. It's been done, and we need to move on. And there were problems with KDE 4.0, which was in Hardy. So we didn't make it the default, but we made packages available for everybody who wanted it. We made a CD for those who wanted it. And hopefully a lot of those problems will go away and be fixed in the Intrepid time. And so we feel that it will be ready for a very Intrepid release, that is.
So what needs to be done to get KDE 4 ready to be the main desktop?
Mainly a lot of packaging changes, of course. In Hardy, we had to change the packages to make them install alongside the KDE 3 packages, and we'll just throw away that. There's a bunch of new dependencies, so from a technical point of view, we need to review those dependencies to be included in the main archive, so they need a security review and so forth. And so we need lots of people to help out with the packaging effort in Intrepid.
And how can they do that?
Well, they can join us on Kubuntu IRC channel, say hello, what can I do to help, and we'll point them in the direction. And there's a big long list of packages that need merged in the first instance, and of course we've got a big long list of things that need developed for Intrepid as well. The various bits of Kubuntu that are specific, that are distribution specific, that we have Kubuntu versions for, quite a lot of those need to be ported to KDE 4 in Intrepid to make sure that they still work and they're up to date and they integrate fully with the desktop. So lots of opportunities for people who want to get into small manageable jobs, doing Python coding, free software, C++ coding, some as well as lots of testing to make sure that it all works at the end of the day.
What sort of feedback have you had from KDE 4 in Hardy?
We've had a lot of people saying that it's not quite ready there, which we knew. That's why we didn't make it the default. And there's an awful lot of potential in KDE 4. The main point about 4.0 is that all the libraries have been redone, and it makes it very easy to write applications that use those libraries. And so, for example, the graphics library in Qt4 is beautiful. That's why KDE 4 is full of lovely shiny graphics and things that fly in all over the place. And there's much better hardware integration. It's easier to do that, easier to do multimedia, and we expect future KDE releases to make the most of that new opportunity.
What in particular is it that helps with the multimedia?
There's a new library that's called Phonon, and it was developed for KDE, but it was sufficiently good that it's been picked up by Trolltech for Qt as well now. And it's got multiple backends, and one of the things we need to look at is, do we use the existing design backend, or do we go with the GStreamer backend, and can we make sure it has the same functionality in terms of automatic codec install that we have in KDE 3, and we think we should get there for Intrepid.
Cool. So what are you hoping to get out of this UDS?
Well, we've had a bunch of sessions. Well, let's cover FOSS Camp first. We had Lydia from Amarok. We looked at Amarok 2, which is a beautiful interface. Amarok is by far the most popular media player in the Linux world, and Amarok 2 just makes it so much nicer because the interface has just been redesigned to make it much more cleaner and tidy and functional. And we have daily packages of Amarok being built now for Kubuntu, so if you want to test out the latest ones, you can use the Amarok nightly builds, which are available for everyone. That's a great resource for developers and testers. And Lubos from SUSE came to visit FOSSCamp, which is great. He's the developer of KWin, as well as a bunch of other things in KDE, so we talked about the compositing features that are in KWin, so we'll try and make sure those get turned on for Intrepid by default, using the same tests as Ubuntu does for their compositing. So Ubuntu is pretty good at testing whether or not your computer can actually support this, and we want to make sure that we get that same reliability in Intrepid. No wobbly windows, so we'll turn that bit off by default. Oh yes, Lubos also was very good at running some sessions on KDE GNOME cooperation. So we just listed some relatively easy tasks that could be better shared between KDE and GNOME. So hopefully we'll have people working on the key rings that store your passwords between KDE and GNOME. There's no reason why you should have half your password stored over here, half here, and Firefox doing something else. That should be relatively easy to share. And even something as simple as URL schemes aren't quite matched between KDE and GNOME. So it works with files, and it works with HTTP, but with SSH files, they don't work, and even FTP has problems. So there'll be people to look at standardizing that, which is great. But you asked about UDS. FOSSCamp was last weekend. UDS is, of course, our Ubuntu-specific side, and so we've got a bunch of Kubuntu community here, and we've had a good number of sessions discussing how we're going to get KDE4 in, everything that needs ported. So the package manager, for example, will need ported. We'll look at picking up package kit. Package kit isn't quite ready yet. It has some problems with Debian packages, but we'll look at moving slowly in that direction. Network configuration tools, we've been looking at what's going to happen there. How good Network Manager will be with 0.7, whether or not we'll need any other tools above that. We just finished having a session on the Kubuntu Council, because discussing about how the community works and functions. So we'll be refreshing some new members on the council. We'll be trying to run new Kubuntu tutorial days to get people introduced to Kubuntu development and KDE development. We will we'll try and encourage more people to become official Ubuntu developers, which means that they can upload packages. So we've got quite a lot of people who are sending in patches, which is great, but they need to apply to be Ubuntu Motu, it's called, which is easy to do, but some people they're a bit shy about declaring themselves ready for that. So we need to encourage more people to become official developers. And we've got sessions coming up looking at the Kubuntu website, which is going to one day be refreshed, maybe. Improving file sharing in the rest of Kubuntu, and tweaking the default settings in KDE4. Are there any changes we want to make? By and large, we want to stay with the KDE4 settings because we love KDE. We want it to be KDE, but do the colors need changed here and there, that kind of thing.
Cool. So, to wrap up, for Intrepid, other than getting KDE4 in, because that's such a small task, is there anything else that you're looking at for Intrepid for Kubuntu?
Well, we looked at syncing the Kubuntu release cycle with KDE, because KDE is now on a 6-month release schedule, so it's possible we could give up on this Ubuntu release schedule and go with the KDE. In the end, we're probably not going to do that because it's a lot of extra effort to maintain our own archive and release schedule and so forth, and we're relatively happy getting in a stable version of KDE. But we will make sure that we have the latest KDE packages available for Hardy when KDE 4.1 comes out. We will try to have remixed CDs so that people can just do a fresh install if they want to. And we will discuss with Upstream if the KDE release schedule can be improved to fit in with other projects. But most of the time will be spent on making Intrepid great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.